So good afternoon everyone. I am Labijin E. Pacheco. So today I will discuss about fundamental of the nervous system and nervous tissue. So before we proceed our discussion, we have an learning objective. At the end of this lesson, the student should be able to list the division of the nervous system and describe the characteristic of each. Describe the structure of neuron and the function of their components. Describe the location, structure, and general function of glial cells. Define and describe the structure of a nucleus, a ganglion, a nerve tract, and nerves. So, nervous system, master, controlling, and communicating system of the body. It is a cell communicate by electrical signals and chemical signals. It is rapid and specific, usually cause an immediate response. So there are three overlapping function. First, sensory input, integration, motor output. So when we say sensory input, nervous system uses its millions of sensory receptors to monitor changes, and integration, nervous system process and interpret sensory input and decide what should be done. Motor output responds by activating effector organ. So, ang sensory output amo ining sa taas, siya murag sa tubig padung sa mata. Then ang integration amo ining sa tunga, murag siya brain ata ni. Then ang motor output amo ining sa baba siya. So there are two major divisions to the nervous system: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system, it is consists of the brain and spinal cord, while peripheral nervous system, it is consists of all nervous tissues outside the central nervous system. So this is the example of central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Amo ini siyang isa-isa ka tao. So ang brain, part ini siya ng CNS. So when we kuan, ang CNS is central nervous system. Ang nerve sab niya, part siya sa peripheral nervous system. Ang digestive tract, amo ining part sa siya ng enteric nervous system. Ang spinal cord, part ini siya ng central nervous system. And the last, ganglia, is part siya ng peripheral nervous system. So there are two functional peripheral division: sensory division and the motor division. So sa sensory division, may duha niya ka part. Somatic sensory fibers, when we say that convey and process from skin, skeletal muscles, and joint to CNS. And the last is visceral sensory fibers. So it is convey and processed from visceral organ to CNS. So motor division transmits impulses from CNS to effector organ, muscles, and the glands. There are two divisions: somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, it is a transmit action potential from the CNS to cardiac muscle, smooth muscles, and glands. Autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic division. Cells of nervous system, there are two types of cells that make up the nervous system: that neuron and glial cells. Neuron, also known as nerve cells, and it send their signals from your brain, and it is basic cells for the nervous system in invertebrates and most invertebrates from the level of the cnidarians. Structural diversity in neurons Neurons display great diversity in size and shape. For example, their cells body range in diameter from the 5 micrometers, silently smaller than a red blood cell, up to 135 mm, barely large enough to see with the unaided eye. The pattern of the dendritic branches is varied and distinctive for neuron in different parts of the nervous system. Structural clarification is structurally. Neurons are classified according to the number of processes extending from the cell's body. There are four neurons clarification. Multipolar neurons usually have several dendrites and one axon. Bipolar neurons have one main dendrite and one axon. They are found in the retina of the eye, the inner ear, and the olfactory area of the brain. Unipolar neurons have dendrites from one axon that are fused together to form a continuous process that emerge from the cell's body. Pseudonipolar neuron or pseudonipolar because they began in the embryo as bipolar neuron. During development, the dendrites and the axon fuse together and become a single process. So this is the picture of multipolar neuron has many processes extending from the cell's body. A bipolar neuron has two and a unipolar neuron has one. So this is the picture of type of sensors receptor found. The dendrites of the unipolar neuron determine the type of sensory stimulus that the unipolar neuron can detect. So this is the two example of central nervous system neurons. So there are three functional clarification for sensory or afferent neuron. So either contain sensory receptor of their distal end or are located just after sensory receptor that are separated cells. So and motor or afferent neuron convey action potential away from the CNS effector or muscles gland. In the periphery through cranial or spinal nerves, motor neurons are multipolar instructor. Interneurons or association neurons are mainly located with the CNS between sensory and motor neuron. Interneurons integrate incoming sensory information from sensory neurons and then elicit a motor response by activating the appropriate motor neurons. Most interneurons are multipolar in structure. So, amo yung picture ng neuroglia of the central nervous system, while sa neuroglia of the peripheral nervous system. Neuroglia of the peripheral nervous system completely surround axon and cell body. The two types of glial cells in the peripheral nervous system are S1 cells and satellite cell. S1 cells, these cells encircle peripheral nervous system axon-like oligodendrocytes. They form the myelin sheaths around axon. A single oligodendrocyte myelinates several axons, but each is one cells myelinates a single axon. A single is one cells can also enclose as many as 20 or more unmyelinated axon or axon that lack a myelin sheath. Is one cells participate in axon regeneration, which is more easily accomplished in the peripheral nervous system than in the central nervous system. Satellite cells, these flat cells surround the cell body of neuron of peripheral ganglia. Besides providing structural support, satellite cells regulate the exchange of material between neuronal cells body and in- interstitial fluid. Neuroglia of the peripheral nervous system. Two types of neuroglia produce myelin sheaths, one cells in the peripheral nervous system, and oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system. These one cells begin to form myelin sheaths around axons during fetal development. Each is one cell squares about 1 millimeter to 1 mm to 0.04 inches of single axon length by spiraling many times around the axon. Eventually, multiple layers of glial plasma membranes surround the axons, with the swan cells, cytoplasm, and nucleus forming and the outermost layer. The inner option, consisting of up to 100 layers of swarm cells membrane, is the myelin sheath. The outer nucleated cytoplasmic layer of the swarm cells, which encloses the myelin sheaths and the neurolemma. Neurolemma is found only the around axon and the PNS. When an axon is acquired, a neurolemma aids regeneration by forming a regeneration tube that guide the stimulate regrowth of the axon. Gap in the myelin sheaths called nodes of Ranvier appear the interval along the axon. Each is one cells, quark, and one axon segment between two nodes. In the central nervous system, an oligodendrocyte myelinates parts of several axons. Each oligodendrocyte puts forth about 15 brood processes that spinal around CNS axons, forming a myelin sheath. A neurolemma is not present, however, because the oligodendrocyte cell's body and nucleus do not envelop the axon. Nodes of Ranvier are present, but they are fewer in number. Axon and the CNS display little regrowth after injury. This is to, to be due in the part to the absence of neurolemma and in part to an inhibitory influence exerted by the oligodendrocytes on axon regrowth. Myelinated and unmyelinated axons. Notice that one layer of swan cells plasma membrane surround unmyelinated axon. Amo ining sa obos. Axons surrounded by the myelin sheath produce either the swan cells in the peripheral nervous system. So amo yon ang picture niya sa obos. Yaon. Yung duha. Clusters of neuronal cells body. Recall that a ganglion refers to the cluster of neuronal cells body located in the peripheral nervous system. As mentioned earlier, ganglia are closely associated with cranial and spinal nerves. By contrast, a nucleus is a cluster of neuronal cells body located in the central nervous system. Bundles of action. We call that a nerve is bundle of action that is located in the peripheral nervous system. Cranial nerves connect the brain to the periphery, whereas spinal nerves connect the spinal cord to the periphery. A tract is a bundle of action that is located in the central nervous system, track interconnect neurons in the spinal cord and brain. Gray and white matter in a freshly dissected section of the brain or spinal cord. Some regions look white and glistening and the others appear gray. White matter is composed primarily of myelinated axons. The whitish color of myelin gives that matter its name. The gray matter of the nervous system contains neuronal cells body, dendrites, unmyelinated axon terminals, and neuroglia. It's a pair grayish rather than white because the news body imparts a gray color and there is little or no myelin in this area. Blood vessels are present in both white and gray matter. In the spinal cord, the white matter surrounds an inner core of gray matter that, depending on how imaginative you are, is shaped like a butterfly or the letter H. In transverse section in the brain, a thin cell of gray matter covers the surface of the largest portion of the brain, the cerebellum and cerebellum. The arrangement of gray matter and white matter in the spinal cord and the brain is discussed more exclusively in chapter 13 and 14. So this is the picture of the white matter consists primarily of myelinated axon of mini neuron. Gray matter consists of neuron cells body, dendrites, um, unmyelinated axon terminals, and neuroglia. That's all.